it's Carol. I'm doing a take two from the video that I just did. What I wanted to describe to you guys is that first of all, I just woke up and I was not showing up yet. Joe, are you there really? I miss you, Joe. Tomorrow we talk. It's so Joe is my business coach and she is awesome. Mark, let me see if I can get you in. Okay. So he can help me to process some this week and all that's been going on, and I'm having trouble getting to the depth of it. And that would be great. Yes, I want to talk to you tomorrow. So Mark is being added, and hopefully this will work. Yeah, Joe, I definitely talk to you about. There you are. Can you hear me? I cannot hear you. No? Okay, Mark, can you hear me? No. He's going to get something. I can't hear you. Here? No? No bueno. Let's see. No. Can you put your earphones in? Okay, I don't want. Oh, okay. Approve. Okay. It's saying I can't include you because you're already on. What the heck? There
Okay,
you
what
go.
about that?
Mark, what'd you do?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Why can't I hear you now?
I took my earpiece out.
Oh, okay. We'll do that again. That seems to work a lot better.
Okay, but
Ladies,
I can't see you though.
this is Mark. This is Mark. He and I have been working together for almost a year,
Yeah, about that.
right?
Yeah.
Well, but I hired you like 2 years ago, almost. Well,
Yes,
October.
this is true.
Well, 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And then me to get to the place I wanted to get to, which was to be an author. Well, it really worked, and I have been publishing, and Mark is a life coach, right?
This is true. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, if I can speak in this thing. Oh well, whatever. Okay, so let's let's just be fully transparent.
Yes,
If
I
you
love
want.
it.
So Carol was online earlier, and we had talked earlier in the week, and she was online and she was doing her best to share with everybody. This was my experience, to share with everybody what was on her heart, what was on her mind, and she just seemed like dead for Carol. Now, it doesn't mean that she's dead, but for Carol, it was. And so I was like,
Right.
oh my gosh, this is kind of painful. And she had just woken up and probably had a long weekend and stuff like that. And so she asked me to come on. And so we kind of stopped and because I had never been on FaceTime with somebody else. I don't even know who's watching. I don't know anything. But I thought, hey, I want to support my friend Carol and see what we can do to co-create FaceTime Live together, I guess. So without further ado, let's do it. So Carol, what were you wanting to communicate earlier this evening on Facebook Live?
I guess it was a process of this whole week and kind of like what I got out of it. And I realized as I was talking that I'm still not sure what I got out of it all.
So you're not sure what you got out of it all. So you knew you wanted to communicate something.
Yeah, I wanted to communicate that I realized that I had a huge part in the breakup of a relationship that I really was resistant to looking at. I didn't want to see my part.
or you didn't want to see how you were in some way responsible for the relationship dissolving.
Yeah, yeah, that was and I didn't know how to get that across, but I really realized that I had a huge part, and it was under the waterline for me. I didn't notice that. It took about a week, and then I went, oh my gosh.
But what do you mean? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but under the water line, what does that mean to you?
Well, for like, I didn't know about it. It was like something that was happening that I wasn't aware of. And then about a week later, as I was thinking, it's like, aha, I did that.
Yeah. So under the water line is a term that I think came out of the coaching arena, where it's like, under the water line is something we don't often look towards. So if you think of an iceberg, there's like a third on top of the water, and then the bulk of it is under the water where we don't see. And I think what you were alluding to was everything was fine, everything was going along just the way it kind of I was running my life, and then a relationship ended. And what most people do is they don't really look at how they were in part responsible for how things ended up. And as I do deeper work with people, as I do deeper work on myself, I realize there's always partially I'm responsible for the way things end up. There's no other way to look at it. And so you're realizing that just recently that there were some things that you did or were not aware of that helped to influence the dissolving of the relationship.
Yeah, in some ways, what happened was that I actually, in his perception, broke up. And I didn't even have the same perception. Like, I was the one that did it. And I recognized that really, due to lack of self-care, I was completely not showing up and having conversations with him that
What do you mean lack of self-care?
I
Your
had.
lack of self-care somehow influenced
There was four
the...
straight days I was not sleeping. 4 straight days. I may have gotten 2 or 3 hours sleep. I kept going to sleep, waking up, going to sleep, waking up. And by, the fourth day, I was pretty much psychotic. I mean,
Well, yeah.
like the usual Carol, right?
So how did he factor into this when you weren't sleeping? Was he around? What was going on?
No, but we talk every morning, 5:30 in the morning, and every night in the evening. And as we were talking, I guess I said things and made decisions and answered questions, and I really wasn't present.
Well, what do you mean you weren't present? Where were you?
I was talking.
You were talking.
My mouth shut up, but I was talking.
Yeah. So
Saying things.
you were kind of being. Go ahead.
The things pissed him off, and I looked at myself like a victim. And I don't want to be no victim, but that's what I was doing, my victim mentality. And, poor me. And he didn't like it. And I don't blame him. I friggin' don't.
He didn't like what?
He did not like self-deprecating kind of comments that I even didn't, well, again, I wasn't aware at the time I was doing it, but now I get it.
Yeah. So you weren't aware of your own internal self-talk coming out and causing an impact on the person that you really wanted to spend time with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I'm doing right now is I'm wondering, oh my gosh, where is it that I that I do that in my life?
Let's switch since
we can if you want. So there's times where I can be sarcastic. If there are those that know me, it's very true. And I don't always, it's not always intentional, but sometimes some of the sarcasm can hurt. And then I kind of justify it. Well, I'm just being sarcastic. I was just being, this way or that way. But the truth is, if I really look at it, it doesn't matter how I was being. It's really more important as what impact did it have on the other person, and not try to defend what my intention was, because intentions are just, Uh, they're like secondary to action and how we make people feel, the impact that we have on people. So if my intention was this way and I missed the mark, then I get to, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, I don't know, whatever. Then I get to really look at me and how I really impact other people.
Right, but sarcasm means tearing of flesh. So if we don't get that, then we don't know that we really can hurt people with sarcasm. I mean, underneath sarcasm, if it's not truly playful, can be kind of something else, like another motivation that you don't know.
Well, and sarcasm, the thing that just kind of came up for me right now as you were saying that is sarcasm is one, tearing of flesh, got that. But if it's done well, it's two people playing back and forth. But in that play, I don't know, is that trying to avoid being hurt in some way? I mean, why not just drop the sarcasm and just connect? I'm not sure, but it's
Well,
definitely food for thought.
you like quick-witted stuff, right? You and
I
I?
love it. The banter back and forth, the being quick on your toes, absolutely.
Yeah, so quick-witted, having fun, it requires intelligence, so it's really fun. But I think there's a difference between being quick-witted and sarcastic. I think sarcastic is something else. I think it is, if tearing of flesh is truly one of the definitions, then the quick-witted stuff, there is an underlying motivation, and that could be that you're mad at the person and it's coming out that way, or that you really don't want to connect, or there's stuff that you haven't processed together,
Right.
something
Right.
like that. And I know you and I get that sometimes, and we both banter back and forth, and I catch myself saying things to you that I go, I need to talk to you because I had underlying motives, and I've talked to you and asked for your apology, and we always do things like that.
Yeah. So I think what I'm gathering here is one is, look, we're gonna make mistakes. If we're relating to people or in a relationship, we're gonna make mistakes. Like, bottom line, there's no way around it.
Yeah.
But if you do make mistakes, then it's time to kind of like step back, recalibrate, figure out how you impacted that other person, and see if there's something you want to do differently moving forward in the future. Especially if you feel that you do have good intentions. It doesn't matter what your intentions are at times, because sometimes the actions are really going to impact people. Now, can you always make sure that your actions are going to positively impact people? Absolutely not. That's not even reasonable. But I think it is. I think it's important to notice how you are really. Um, this is really confusing because I'm trying to talk here, and then I got all these comments popping up, and I'm like, so disjointed. So
Yeah,
disjointed.
but
This is like, what the heck?
feels, and when
Anyway,
you're going, I'm judging you because you're not showing up. It's not so easy, right? I mean, because we're showing up, we're thinking, and then we're trying to process that and then say it, and
yeah, yeah,
it's not easy.
yeah, exactly,
And
exactly.
we don't do on video. We've always done on audio.
Well, and I can't even see you. I don't know if what's going on, but whatever.
You
Anyway,
can't see me.
no, I can't. And you're like black or something. I don't know,
I'm
but whatever. I
okay.
can't see you. But anyway,
Hi,
okay.
Paul.
So
I'm
so
sorry. Rome is on. I haven't seen him in years. Oh my goodness. It's just nice to see people that
yeah.
I haven't seen for a while. So what we're talking about is uh, I know that I messed up, and isn't it
No, did you mess up though? That's the real question. Did you really mess up?
to be forgiven? Or do we hold people accountable so much that, we just say, well, you blew it, so next?
No, but I'm not sure if you heard the question. Did you really mess up?
Yeah, in his mind, yeah.
Well, I'm not asking him. I'm
Um,
asking you.
yeah.
You feel that you messed up.
Yeah, I needed time to think through. I really think I just phoned it in the last week.
You did what in the last week?
Phoned it in. I was not all there.
Okay, what was there in its place?
There was a really weird woman that was saying things that she shouldn't have. And you can't take back hurting somebody. And I did this video called Hurt People, and we both hurt each other. I mean, I started it and I didn't even know. Like you always say that defending is the first act of war.
No,
And
I didn't say that. Byron Katie said that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, you quoted somebody, I don't know about all that, where the stuff comes from, the origins of what the quotes.
Well,
However,
basically, she said defense is the first act of war.
yes. Isn't
Yes.
that what okay. So I guess I think I got defensive, and that.
You think you did or you did?
Well, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I literally was barely there because I hadn't slept in so many days. I'm sure I must have.
Yeah.
And I was profoundly sorry, and the pain had already started. And it just kept going on, and I couldn't make it go away. Like, once he was triggered, that was that. For now. I mean, up till now. I'm not saying that's forever, but not having that friend, that's the hardest part right now.
Yeah. You know what I love about life? It's not always easy, but we always start from here and we move forward. And look, there are certain things that I'm aware of that we're probably taking a priority and a front seat to you and your relationship, and it definitely caused or influenced some of the happenings in that relationship. And yet I'm wondering, look, some of those variables that were there will be there, and perhaps knowing you will be there in a more pronounced way because you're doing great things with your business and you're exploding and all that. How are you going to prevent that from happening again in the future? And I think that's the most important thing. Whenever we make a mistake or whenever we do something that we wish we hadn't done, it's like so important to take an autopsy and figure out, like, wow, that was uncomfortable, that was painful, that was hurtful to me and to other people, and how, if at all, can I do something differently moving forward?
Right. And that's it, because I can't go back. I can't go back to the future and do anything there, but I can, going forward, at least be different. And I think for me, I need time when somebody asks me a question to know what my answer truly is. It's a slow process for me to really give you an honest answer. I need to reflect for a moment.
Yeah.
And I don't like that uncomfortable, awkward moment of she's thinking.
Well,
And
I don't know I don't know how deep you want to go here, but that's ripe for exploration.
say it.
Look, what did you just say exactly the way you said it?
Really?
Yeah, as much as possible. Like, I don't want to be uncomfortable in the silence.
Yes.
Okay. Because really what that means is if I'm silent, that means what?
Stupid?
Stupid. Okay. So if you're silent, that equals stupid.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how do you suppose that impacts other areas of your life if you are finding it difficult to be silent, because to you, to fill this space of silence is to be intelligent, when there's no bearing on that whatsoever?
Excellent point. How does that impact my life?
Well, I mean, what other ways could it impact your life? Not that we're going to know, but it's like,
Well,
we're doing a podcast of curious intentions, but it's just to be curious. Like, oh my gosh, if I feel, or if I think that my silence equals my stupidity in the context of this one relationship, well, it's fair to say that that would also bleed out into other aspects, not just your romantic relationship. So get curious, perhaps, of like, oh my gosh, maybe I spoke too soon when I was going through a negotiation or whatever.
Yeah, foot in mouth. Many, many times have I said things that I wish I could just grab back. And I can't take them back once their impact is had. So,
So let's pull it even back further. Like, what's the need in Carol or anybody else, me included, the need to speak, talk, be heard real quick? Otherwise, if I don't, then then I'm stupid if I don't right now. Like, what's that need? And we all have needs like this, right? We all have it. We can't get away from it.
right, human. It's human. But I don't know what everybody's experience is with that.
Well, I'm asking you this.
I can where if I frame that up that I'm intelligent if I talk fast, I'm really gonna miss things. They're not going to hit into other people in the way that I want them to because I am too busy trying to look intelligent.
Yeah, but you know the paradox here, the uncanny paradox is more often than not, you probably look less than intelligent.
Yes.
Because of the need to sound intelligent, which is no sign of intelligence at all when you think about it.
I agree. I agree. It's been a very intelligent week.
Yeah, so if this was like a coaching call, which it's not, but if it was, a stretch could be like, look, Carol, your stretch, should you choose to accept it, or your challenge this week is to be extremely mindful of those times where your ego, and I'm not talking about the Carol that I know, that her true authentic self. Yeah, I'm talking about the ego, the monkey brain, all that kind of stuff. That part that gets involved. And just, can you stand in the space? Can you be in the silence enough to have that voice dissipate? And then see what kind of impact you have.
I love the challenge. I take it.
Oh, goodness gracious! I wasn't actually saying for you to take it, but if you want, that'd be good. That'd be kind of fun to see what happens.
To see this about myself.
Yeah.
And that's my comfort, is being the victim. Now I just caused that. So now I'm almost like victimizing myself, and then I'm feeling sorry for myself. And I don't like any of that. That's not who I want to show up as. I don't want to be self-deprecating. I just want to be me and not throw in like, that's my old stuff, my old self-talk.
What's your old stuff?
I suck. I'm stupid. I'm
yeah. Perhaps now you've just gotten a little more sophisticated with how you communicate that.
Okay, right. You're right.
I mean, well, I'm not saying to be right. I'm just saying, like, it's possible that that's what you could be doing.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe many people wouldn't even catch that. And then maybe, that's your safety place.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't like that I've been using that as a defense mechanism, and I need to work through this. And for me, it's just, I've got to learn it's another, transformation that has to happen for me to feel proud of the person I'm transforming into.
Yeah. And it's also possible that, like, your value and your worth is pegged on the Carol's ability to break the silence with something of value. And if she can't do that, then she has no value. So if that is plausible, that might be what's going on for Carol, then the way she could challenge that would be to restrain herself from filling the silence and see what she finds out. Because you might find out that, look, you're much more impactful and influential than you realize, especially if you are more selective and choosy with what words you say and how you say them and timing and all the rest.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking I need some duct tape, which is probably not the right
Extra
thing to
strength
say.
maybe for you. I don't know.
What extra
Like extra strength. Like
duct tape? Okay, well, I'll look for that. But right, I mean, I'm gonna have to like really shut up for a
you're gonna
little.
have to really shut up, or you're telling me to shut up.
No, I'm gonna have to learn to allow myself to process.
But see, because here's what I know, and I don't test this very often, but I have, and it's beautiful when I have done it. It's like, why do you assume that people want to hear what you have to say?
Uh,
That was brilliant, by the way. You just held the space and the silence, and I'm like, oh goodness gracious, did I did I lose her? But why do we assume that? Because here's the other thing too.
yeah,
If once we realize that people are responsible enough and we hold them in a higher space, that if I want to know your opinion, Carol, hey Carol, what do you think about that? Or hey Carol, you've been awfully quiet. Do you have anything to say? I will invite you into the conversation just like anybody else would.
yes,
They're not going to be mute and say, oh my gosh, and start thinking Carol's ridiculous and Carol's this way. And no, they're going to probably inquire. And if you
yeah,
inquire, if they inquire, that's the perfect time for you to share whatever's going on for you, because they're inviting you and you're not telling them or directing them in any specific way.
yeah.
And I'm getting all pumped up about this because this is kind of exciting.
um, yeah. No, I think what I was saying to myself is I was on the telephone,
Yeah.
and then um, you have to fill the space in the telephone, which is not true.
Which is not true at
Uh,
all.
not
I
true.
love
And
relationships where I
I
can
know
just
that,
not,
you know,
yeah, we could just be on the phone in silence for a while.
right. And the person that I was talking to will do that. Like we might have 5 minutes of silence while he's thinking through something, then he'll come out with an answer. And I've learned that he does that, and I could do that too.
Yeah. I was just talking to a good friend of mine.
He knows
Um,
it's thoughtful.
a good friend of mine who said that, she will ask a question, and this relationship happened to end recently too. She will ask a question and she will avoid as much as possible wanting to give him options to the question she asked,
Yeah,
because so often we want to rescue and we want to help and all that stuff, when sometimes that's more deleterious and that's more not effective. So just ask the question that you feel is appropriate to be asked and just let the silence drop. Because so oftentimes too, even when I'm working with somebody or I'm not or whatever, it's like we have programmed automatic responses.
yeah,
So if we want true change, we have to go underneath that, like programmatic responses and all that kind of stuff, to really get to what's underneath, because we've been programmed and conditioned so much that we might not even be dealing with the real person. And that's what I really love about silence and staying in that, because once you're like in silence and you only speak when there's something. Who was it that said, I don't know, some philosopher, I can't think of it right now, but I think the only reason to speak is to expand on the silence or something like that. And so it's not just to speak to the air, but it's really to, can you improve? That's what it is. Only speak if you can improve on the silence. Only speak if you can improve on the silence. And when I think about that, as I just am rattling off on and on and on as I'm talking, like that's really powerful. Only speak if you can improve on the silence.
I didn't, by the way. I did not improve on the silence. I
You did not improve on the silence? Is that what you said?
no, what I did was I filled the silence with something
Yeah.
that affected a relationship, and and I harmed somebody. I harmed a relationship that is, all I
Oh,
can
you
do.
don't know that you harmed somebody. Like,
Uh, well, based on his reaction, I mean, he and I have discussed it plenty. So,
well, yeah, but I don't know that you really harmed somebody. That might be his work that he needs to do.
oh yeah, no, I'm not saying, that
Yeah,
I'm not taking on responsibility, but my part in it is
yeah,
my
you had an
part.
impact
Yeah.
on affecting somebody else in a other than positive, uplifting, healthy way.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's to me the last thing I wanted to do, but that
of course.
I self-care was a piece of that. I wasn't sleeping, and until I stopped and I got a lot of rest, then my brain, the thing up here, this prefrontal cortex could think clearly
Hmm.
instead of just throwing out automatic responses of protection. That's what I was doing. I was protecting myself because I decided
Well,
I was being, and I protected
protection
myself.
and probably this might be a leap, but also working from a scarcity mindset.
Absolutely. The
Working,
scarcity mindset, the abandonment stuff. That's what has been stirring up for me is my abandonment issues from my childhood, and um, recognizing I'd written out somewhere in the week that my abandonment issues don't give you license to be cruel.
true.
And I know
Well,
he
remember
took
what we just
offense.
talked about though? Here's what I love about this. It's like I'm just listening and stuff comes. We talked about the possibility of you being more sophisticated in the way that you use your defense mechanisms. Because you
Yes.
have higher education and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's very possible that the way in which you demonstrated your defense mechanism was to do exactly what you just did, causing him to leave before he could leave you, because you were so
Yes.
busy and not present and not the loving, amazing woman that Carol is.
Thank you. And I missed the mark, so to speak. And
But
that
more
was the
importantly,
pain.
like just hear this. That like, it's not about missing the mark. It's not about what you did or what you didn't do. I guess the real question is, were you in touch with you, and were you taking time for Carol to be with Carol, if for no other reason than you're worth it and you get to do that to fill your cup, regardless of what everybody else is doing or thinking or feeling or needing bills to be paid or whatever.
Well, I think obviously the answer is no, I was not doing that. That's why I have spent this last week intentionally doing self-care to fill my bucket back up. And now, I mean, even just took a nap,
Yeah.
things like I I feel I feel like I'm coming back out of like a fugue.
And it's so,
You
yeah, a fugue state, right? It's so almost counterintuitive, especially for entrepreneurs. You're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, because it's like we always feel like we need to be grinding and producing and generating and all that kind of stuff, like all the time,
know?
creating clients. But that's true from one standpoint. And yet there's a vital part of us that if we don't pay attention to and nurture and reflect and spend time without cell phones and all that stuff, and believe me, I'm talking to myself too. I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to myself, right? So I'm just trying to hear myself think uh, at the same time. If we don't take care of that, then who else is going to take care of it? And if we get to the end of our life or whatever we've created, we have lots of money, we have lots of friends, we have lots of whatever we think we need lots of, but we haven't lived a fulfilling life, then who cares? Like, really, what's the point?
Yeah.
And it's
And for
not
me, there,
easy. It's not easy because there's so many voices. You can get a coach who tells you one thing, or a therapist, or the media, or whatever. Like, so much just BS. Like, you got to have this. You got, it's nonsense. A lot of it, not all of it, but a
yeah,
lot of it.
that chatter.
Yeah, just the chatter. Like, I need to do this. I need to do that, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've been chatter on my computer, like so many people that I used to listen to now, I'm just like, unsubscribe. It's okay. Now, I just want to process through what I think. I don't need to hear what everybody else thinks because I've been listening long enough.
Yeah.
And not that I won't learn and won't continue to learn, but I don't need to listen to everybody.
Oh gosh, you think you can? I mean, there's so many ways to do everything, and if you listen to everybody, you'd get nothing done.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like I was listening to a podcast every morning and taking in this and that, and then my head felt like it was going to explode.
Yes,
And then,
because
and
because yeah,
it's just too much. It was too much input. I just needed to have silence.
yeah, and that's one of the reasons, the main reason why I do so much meditation or guided imagery on YouTube, because that's the one or a few times that I can really like slow my mind down because someone else is talking to me and I've listened to it like lots of times. It just really helps to really channel and focus and relax my mind, because even when I mean, it's Sunday and I was cleaning my house and I'm like, there's a million different things I can do. Oh yeah, do this, do this, do this. Oh yeah, don't forget to do that and this, and then after, and then your mind's going like, oh, like all over the place. You like have Gumby brain and you're just being stretched everywhere. And it's like, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, create a list, check it off one by one, and don't get so distracted. And for me, it really helps when I feel like I notice I'm getting gummy brain being pulled everywhere, to
Yeah.
do just even 10 minutes of guided relaxation or imagery or whatever. And it's just remarkable because it brings you back to a centralized focal point of just being here now and not focused on future tripping like extensively.
I was just thinking about, what that experience that I got to be a part of with you with the bowls from the Ukaipa Wellness Center, is it? Or
Yeah, right.
that was hands down one of the best things I've ever gone through. And it felt like it lasted 5 minutes, and I think it was like 2 hours or something.
It was like an hour and a half.
Okay, it was an hour and a half, and I couldn't tell you that I felt anything other than like, I don't know, like in touch with me. I don't even know how to describe that. It was just friggin' awesome.
Well,
And I
part of how I would describe it was like it allowed everyone was there the opportunity to fully be in their body, experience their body, and that's it. So many times we're outside of our body, right? We're thinking about how we're going to get the bills paid. We're thinking about how the clients are going to come in the door or who's going to pick up the kids or whatever. And like, we're not really in our body. We're just thinking about the future, or we're thinking about the past. But things like meditation or, I don't know, prayer or even the sound bath or whatever allows people that opportunity to come back to the source, to God, whatever you want to call it, and just to be here in the moment. And just remember that in that moment, in that time, there's nothing else for you to do, is just to be with you. And then it's almost like it provides like a safe haven or like a recharging, like it does for me. And then I can go back and, look at the world or do whatever I need to do in the world.
Yeah. So what I'm getting from that for me is I was moving so fast, I wasn't doing that. And that lack of self-care um, caused me pain,
Yeah.
and also caused somebody else their own experience from what I said during that time.
Yeah.
And I know that what I'm taking away from all of this is balance. It's balance. I was not balanced. My bucket was dry.
Yeah.
There was nothing. I was in a car that had no gas.
Yeah. And you were trying to go from like Southern California to San Francisco and you didn't have any gas, and thinking
That,
everybody else was wrong, but you
yeah,
just didn't have any gas. You didn't have any gas.
right. Well,
Yeah.
I had no gas. So that, yeah, that it I'm going to be thinking about that for a while and still processing through how I can show up better in the future and recognize that just even learning this about myself is a good thing. It's all a good thing because it's a takeaway is I learned something and
Yeah.
I want to keep learning, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally get it.
So,
I totally get it.
yeah. And Mark and I mean, your friends and my friends are showing up. I don't know what you see or don't see, but they're all showing up here and there. And it's interesting. You're a life coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a therapist. You're an LCSW. So we're kind of the same. We're both clinicians and coaches um, and into the transformational training world. And, that's how the fact that we even met, I think is a pure miracle. And I
Yeah.
love that we can challenge each other, and our friendship means a lot to me.
Well,
And
thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm
I
so
think the biggest
excited.
thing I'm taking away from all of this is, look, when we're not taking care of ourselves, there's so much in our lives that can go awry, like a lot. And there's so many things that people can do to provide themselves that space for self-care, whatever it is. There's so many. There's just like gobs and gobs and gobs. And I know people that self-care, they just go for a run to clear their head. That doesn't really work for me as much, but there's so many things. Some people, it's like take a bath and candles and all that, or just listen to music or paint or whatever.
Mhm.
I know my younger sister, Becky, when she found that she had a skill and a gift for painting, she would lose herself in painting and just feel so peaceful. And I think that's what probably Chechnya was saying when finding the flow state, just finding flow state. And I think there's a correlation between finding the flow state and things you love to do as far as work and creativity. But then there's also a flow state of finding the flow state within your ability to relax and be with you. And I can go on all night, so I'll start to taper down here a little bit. But I'm just getting really excited, so I probably won't sleep much because there's so many thoughts running through my head right now.
Balance, okay? Don't
Huh?
get
Oh,
so.
go ahead.
I don't know if your friends know, and some of my friends know that this relationship. We've been working on Curious Intentions, and we got stuck on a little glitch, an IT glitch that you and I both are not really good with details with.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's going to launch this week. And we had enough in the queue already. We'd love to get curious on subjects, and we've had a million conversations like this that uh, I don't know. I mean, I've always said we should just tape record anything we ever say
Yeah.
because I learn something from it every time.
Yeah, me too. And I just
So
realized that it's going to be colder tomorrow, which is great.
yeah,
So apparently I can still get notifications on my Facebook Live. I've never done Facebook Live with somebody else, and I can't see you. So it'd be interesting to see what happens after this. Like, I can see me, but I'd rather see you, honestly,
I
because I don't like looking back at me. That's just kind of weird. but in any case, yeah, we think we have about 10 episodes, right, of Curious Intentions, and we'd love for anybody who wants to just hear conversations going back and forth. There'll always be some new perspectives that people can learn.
right. Slow down
And
there. Could you try to say that again? Like, go back to what you want people to get from our Curious Intentions podcast that we've been working on, putting our heart and soul into.
oh, well, look, for me, life is life is pretty simple, um, but it can be rather difficult when we lose our sense of curiosity and our sense of wonder and our sense of wanting to kind of explore um, different avenues, different alternatives, whatever. So if we can come from a place of being curious more often than not, then whole worlds can open up that were never thought possible. And these worlds are often in your mind, obviously. And so what Carol and I did a long time ago, well, not that long ago, about eight months ago, or I don't know, who cares? was to sit down and talk about subjects that we're curious about. And we're not proselytizing or whatever. We're just having conversations and getting curious around topics like boundaries and I don't know, all kinds of other topics that, hey, if you guys want to just listen to it as you go to work or whatever, give us some feedback. But really just to kind of give people different opportunities to see things just a little bit different. And if we can see things a little bit different, then we can act a little bit different. If we can act a little bit different, then, it's just a tsunami effect on not only the consciousness that we have locally, but the global consciousness. That's what I believe.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I would add is that we could choose to be different. We could not choose to be different and just notice that. Because if we're not going to be different, then that also is a choice. And that, the insanity of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But if we just have the insight and say, you know what, I'm okay with that, me showing up that way, it's just fine, then that's good to know that you're owning that. You don't have to change. Nobody's making you change. It's just, we're just getting curious.
Yeah, I don't often like change. So I know it's needed. I don't like do cartwheels and jumping jacks because I'm like, oh boy, change. I love change. But change happens in and of itself, whether we want it to happen or not.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's better to be on the front wave rather than on the rear trying to pick everything up and then being in the wake of change.
Yeah.
It's often more advantageous that I've experienced in my life to be like proactive in change rather than, be in the wake of change. So
Yeah.
anyway, I have some Thai food waiting for me, and I'm going to practice a little self-care and get some Thai food in my stomach.
Hi.
Because
Okay, just be careful.
why?
It could be, I don't know. I just enjoy your meal and
Yeah,
we'll talk, right?
yeah, of course. Great. Have a good one. We'll talk
All
soon.
right.
Okay, bye.